Imagine you hired the smartest employee you've ever seen. PhD in computer science, master's in finance, reads a 1,000-page legal contract in 30 seconds, writes flawless code, checks its own work, never complains, never asks for a raise. Now imagine that employee just got a brain upgrade. That's what happened on April 16, 2026. Anthropic, the AI safety company that's somehow also building the most powerful AI on the planet, just dropped Claude Opus 4.7. And before you roll your eyes and say, oh great, another AI update, stick with me for just 60 more seconds, because this one is different. This one doesn't just answer your questions. This one thinks, plans, executes, and then checks if it actually did it right. What is Claude Opus 4.7 really? Let's set the stage. Anthropic has a model family. Think of it like a royal family, except instead of drama and bad decisions, they make increasingly terrifying amounts of intelligence. At the top of the publicly available throne, Claude Opus 4.7. But here's the twist. There's actually a secret model above it. It's called Claude Mythos Preview, and Anthropic is so scared of what it can do, they've only given it to 11 companies in the entire world. 11, as in you could fit them all in a conference room. Why? Because Mythos is so good at finding cybersecurity vulnerabilities, releasing it publicly would be like handing out skeleton keys to every hacker on the internet. So instead, Anthropic said, here's Claude Opus 4.7. It's amazing, it's powerful, and it won't accidentally help someone break into the Pentagon. Fair enough. Now, what exactly makes Claude Opus 4.7 so impressive? 3 words: coding, reasoning, and vision. Let's break each one down. On the most important coding benchmark in the industry, SWE Bench Pro, which tests whether an AI can actually fix real bugs in real software from real open-source projects, Opus 4.6 scored 53.4%. GPT-5.4, OpenAI's latest, scored 57.7%. Gemini 3.1 Pro, Google's best, scored 54.2%, and Opus 4.7, 64.3%. That's not a small jump. That's a 10-point leap over its own predecessor. In AI terms, that's the difference between a model that helps you code and a model that codes for you. But here's what makes this really interesting. Opus 4.7 doesn't just write the code and hope for the best. It builds its own tests, it runs them, it checks the output, and if something's wrong, it fixes it before it ever shows you the result. Anthropic actually documented a case where the model built a Rust-based text-to-speech engine from scratch, and then independently fed its own audio output through a speech recognizer to verify it worked correctly. No human asked it to do that. It just did it. That's not a tool anymore. That's a junior engineer who actually gives a damn. And for those of you running businesses, building software, or managing technical teams, that sentence should mean a lot to you. Let's talk about raw intelligence for a second. There's a benchmark called GPQA Diamond, Graduate-Level Google-Proof Q&A. It's designed to ask questions so hard that even PhD-level experts in the field only get about 65% right. Claude Opus 4.7 scored 94.2%. For context, GPT 5.4 scored 94.4%. Gemini 3.1 Pro scored 94.3%. The frontier models have essentially maxed out this benchmark. They've all hit the ceiling, which means the real competition now isn't about who's smarter in a vacuum. It's about who can actually do things in the real world over long periods of time without falling apart. And that's where Opus 4.7 pulls ahead. Anthropic says Opus 4.7 can sustain focus on complex tasks for hours, not minutes, hours. It can coordinate multiple AI agents working in parallel. It can recover from tool failures that would have stopped previous models cold. And it can maintain coherence across a 1 million token context window, which, if you printed it out, would be roughly 750,000 words. That's about 10 full novels.
Here's a feature that doesn't get enough attention:
Previous Claude models could look at images, but they were essentially nearsighted, low resolution, blurry details. If you showed them a dense financial chart or a complex engineering schematic, they'd squint and guess. Opus 4.7 now processes images at 2,576 pixels on the long edge. That's roughly 3.75 megapixels, 3 times the resolution of its predecessor. In practical terms, you can now hand this model a scanned legal contract, a detailed architectural blueprint, a medical imaging report, or a 40-slide investor deck, and it will read every footnote, every data point, every fine print clause. On visual acuity benchmarks from Expo, Opus 4.7 jumped from 54.5% to 98.5%. That's not an improvement, that's a transformation. What the real world is saying. Now, benchmarks are great, but what do actual companies, the ones paying real money to use this thing, actually think? Notion, the productivity platform used by millions, reported a 14% improvement in multi-step workflows and a 66% reduction in tool calling errors. Their AI lead called it a true teammate. Replit, one of the biggest AI coding platforms on the planet, said it achieved higher quality at lower cost and described it as a better coworker. Cognition, the company behind the AI software engineer Devon, said Opus 4.7 can work coherently for hours and pushes through difficult problems that previously caused models to stall. And Harvey, the AI platform used by top law firms, scored Opus 4.7 at 90.9% on Big Law Bench, noting its noticeably smarter handling of ambiguous document editing tasks. These aren't tech bloggers. These are companies with millions of users and billions of dollars on the line. When they say it's better, it's better. Here's the part that matters if you're running a business or managing a team. Opus 4.7 is priced at $5 for million input tokens and $25 for million output tokens. Same price as Opus 4.6. Same price, dramatically better performance. There's also a new X-high effort level, a setting between high and max that lets you tell the model, I need you to think really hard on this one, and it will, at a cost that's still lower than running max effort on the previous model. Plus, Anthropic just launched task budgets in public beta, which lets developers set a hard spending ceiling on any AI task, so your autonomous agent doesn't accidentally burn through your monthly budget debugging one function at 3 a.m. One important caveat, the new model follows instructions more literally than before. If your prompts were written loosely, relying on the model to read between the lines, you may need to tighten them up. More precision in, more precision out. Let's zoom out for a second. We're living through something genuinely historic. In 2020, GPT-3 proved that language models could be useful. That was the 0 to 1 moment, the moment everything changed. Since then, every model release has been about making that usefulness more reliable, more powerful, and more accessible. Opus 4.7 is the clearest signal yet that we've crossed a new threshold. We've gone from AI that assists humans to AI that executes for humans. The model doesn't just answer your question anymore. It plans the project, writes the code, tests it, fixes the bugs, checks the output, and hands you a finished product. That's not a chatbot. That's a digital employee. And Anthropic, a company now valued at somewhere around $800 billion and running at $30 billion in annual revenue, is betting everything that this is where the world is going. Based on what Opus 4.7 can do today, they might be right. So, is Claude Opus 4.7 the most powerful AI you can actually use today? On most of the benchmarks that matter, yes. Is it going to replace your entire team overnight? No. But is it the most capable, most reliable, most practically useful AI model available to the public right now? Absolutely. The question isn't whether AI like this will change how you work. The question is, will you be the one using it or the one being replaced by someone who does?